First, though, every parent wants to look after their child, but what if they were suffering from a rare condition that meant they needed a stem cell transplant?
Well, our next guest, 7-year-old Finn, is fighting a serious condition called familial HLH. It's so rare, there's only 5 people in the world who have it, including Finn.
But being the brave young boy that he is, he joins us alongside his parents now, Joe and Paul, going to tell their story and hope that more people will sign up to donate to that register.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinary because on that register, there's only 2% of the UK on it and 0.4% of the world's population. Well, we'll come to that in a moment and how you get onto it and what it will do for you. But first of all, it's lovely to see you.
It is.
Welcome, Finn.
Welcome.
This is Dave, yes?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Dave with you.
Welcome, Dave. The first signs of this showed themselves how? At what age?
Finley was 4.5, so it's nearly 3 years ago now, and he was complaining of headaches, which is just weird for a 4-year-old to have headaches. So I was going backwards and forwards to the doctors, and we went to the hospital, and they were saying it was probably a nasty virus, and then they said maybe glandular fever, but they didn't want to mess him about any further, but they'd expect him to be turning a corner by the Monday, given the timescales involved. And on the Monday, I phoned the doctors and I said, if anything, he's getting worse. And she said, go straight back to hospital now. And he had a proper examination. And I said, do a blood test and tell me if it's glandular fever or not. And it wasn't, but it showed inflammation. So then they knew they needed to do an MRI. Finley had one on the Thursday, and we had a phone call the next day to say, we needed to go straight to accident and emergency at Birmingham Children's Hospital. We weren't to queue, we'd go straight to the front, tell them who we were. Neurologists were on standby, they were waiting for us. And when we got there, they said his images were so bad they thought he'd be comatose.
Oh, my goodness, so really frightening. And the treatment started straight away, which he responded really well to. And to begin with, they thought that this was a one-off inflammation on the brain. But it got worse, because then by May 2017, the symptoms came back. So what happened then?
Finley's eye just turned in. He went to school, went swimming, came home, was eating his dinner, and his eye was right in the middle. And I thought he was messing about, sort of going cross-eyed, and I said, what are you doing? And he couldn't stay. He said, I'm seeing 2 of everything. So we went to the hospital, and then they were in discussions with the neurologists about whether we should have another MRI, because obviously he needed an anaesthetic at that age, and so they were umming and ahhing, and in the end I demanded one, and he had it in the August, and we didn't hear from them until the September, but he'd got 3 new areas of concern on his brain. And at this point, they did another 5 days IV steroids, followed by an oral taper of 6 weeks, but they followed it up with an MRI, and they tried to do a lumbar puncture and it was too dangerous, so they couldn't.
Well, you said that it was 2016 when he was in nursery that first began to show itself. The story that you've just told now, I mean, that's until March 2019 before you actually got the diagnosis as to what it was.
During that time, he's had an 8.5-hour brain biopsy, he's had lumbar punctures, numerous MRIs.
And then so the last thing they did was to look at they didn't look at the brain for that.
No, it normally affects all the other organs before it goes to the brain. And they're normally babies.
Yeah.
And so for Finn to have got to 4.5 before showing any sign of anything is really unusual.
So essentially this is a long... And we know, obviously, you know, that it's so rare, it's hard to find, and it was in a different place. But for you, do you think, oh, God, that's a long time to get a diagnosis?
Yeah, it's been hell, hasn't it, in between appointments and everything. But because Finn's when he's been on the steroids, they've kept him really relatively well. So we've been able to kind of not put it to the back of our minds, but, you know, live a fairly normal life. We've been on holidays and everything. And without having a diagnosis, it was almost harder, because you're just scared, because the unknown is
don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So you said this, he's kept very stable, as you said, you know, living a normal life with steroids and the immunosuppressants. But this isn't a permanent thing, is it? No. So what does he need?
In order to have a potential cure, Finley needs chemotherapy and a bone marrow transplant.
Right, OK. And this is the big This is what we are here to talk about today.
until Finley was poorly, we were unaware of how poor the numbers on the stem cell register were. We didn't know about it. And everybody we speak to that we say, please, can you sign up? They've never heard of it. And yet only 6 out of 10 people in this country currently get their match. And that's not OK.
Well, most people, even if they choose not to give blood, most people have heard about giving blood. As far as those figures that I read out at the beginning of this, 0.4% worldwide, you know, and just 2% within the UK, what does it entail?
So in order to get on the register, it's 3 simple cheek swabs. And you rub them around for a minute, you fill out a form, and that's it. Send them off to dkms.org.uk and you're on the register for anybody that needs you worldwide. 80,000 people a year worldwide are in need of a stranger donor, so it's huge. Once you're on the register, if you were lucky enough to get a call to say you are potentially a life-saving match for somebody, in 90% of cases, the blood comes out of one arm, the cells get extracted, they go back into the other arm, the blood goes back in, and within 2 to 4 weeks, you regenerate those cells. So you haven't lost anything.
And the only other option that could possibly, potentially be a case, but like you said, it's only in 10% of cases, what would happen then?
It's a small operation where they do need to go into the bone marrow. In less than 10% of cases, that's it.
And that's in a place sort of on your hip, pelvis area, isn't it? I did it this morning. We were here, we sort of set up a little clinic and lots of members of crew did it. I didn't know what the process was going to be. We've donated blood on here before and that was always very simple and easy. I was surprised how simple and easy this was because in the back of my head I kept thinking, why haven't I done this before? And I think I assumed it was a much bigger process. Now I've done it, it's so easy, there is no reason for everybody not to do it.
Anybody aged 17 to 55 of reasonable health, if you'd be willing to take it, if you or a loved one needed it, you should be willing to give it. And I don't think that people aren't willing. I just don't think they know about it.
Well, I'd have done it this morning, but I am just outside the age bracket, unfortunately, just by a matter of months. What do you say, Finley, to anyone who maybe isn't on this register or should be on the register?
Sign up to dkms.org.uk, then you'll get some swabs, then just...
Yeah, and do it. And you could, and also, you could save a life. If you get on that register, whoever it is that's watching this now could save someone's life and could help you.
Yeah, just not only for me, but other people they might help. And
absolutely.
And you are on a timescale here.
They haven't given us an actual time, but we know that his meds won't keep him indefinite and we don't take for granted. Every time he has a nosebleed or says he has a headache or a tummy ache, we're scared. We don't know if it's moving to a different part of his body. We can't be permanently MRIing his head. So every day when he says, quite often as we walk into school, that saying goodbye is hard. And he'll say, oh, I've got a headache. And I don't know, I can't see. I don't know if it's a bit of anxiety or whether his inflammation's returning. We're on a knife's edge.
Tough as a family.
It is. It's a relief to hear footsteps early in the morning, so we know he's up.
Yeah.
You know, it is on, our life's on a knife edge.
Yeah.
Well, it's on hold, isn't it, until we get him his match.
And that is why it is so important. If you can sign up to one of these registers today, you could be the one to make the difference.
Yeah.
Well done for drawing attention
Thank you.
to this.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you,
important.
Finn. Thank you very much
indeed. Lovely
indeed.
to meet you.
And did Dave enjoy his trip?
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
Heart melts instantly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.